Live from Lorain, Ohio, the soon-to-be internet radio capital of Northeast Ohio, Estopiki Productions, along with WELBDBJ Radio, brings you this week's edition of Here's the Thing. DPR the man, that's who I am. My opinion, like yours, is that damned important. We've got an action-packed half hour of show today for January 8th, 2014, the year of new beginnings and new concepts. For Here's the Thing. We'll talk about that in just a little bit, but we got to move on. So here's where we go, all right? As of today, as promised, this show will be presented in 100% video on YouTube and Google+. You can actually see me, the guy who's responsible for all this nonsense, and maybe have a clearer view of what's really going on. Those of you who choose to simply listen to the show can still do so on the website at heresdathing.com. You can also contact the show at hdt2010 at roadrunner.com and view the show on YouTube and Google+. And don't forget, heresdathing.com has a Facebook page, and I post things on it. Not everything that I talk about is on it, and not everything that is on it do I talk about. So you can go on there and see some of the things that I've picked up from time to time that I found interesting. Post some comments. Give me some ideas. Your ideas could be part of the next show. And, of course, I'll never use your name unless you give me express written permission to do so. Now, I run my own board, so you might see me looking at things and doing things here. Don't let that bother you, because it's what I do. So, the first thing that we need to discuss has to do with a certain, shall we say, President of the United States that is going to be with us for the next couple of years. And for that, we need to move on to his theme song, if you will. So let's get that rolling here. Again, the transitions are going to be a little bit strange for a while because I don't have the... There we are. We all heard that, right? Barack Hussein Obama. We'll get this all down as time goes on. See, sooner or later I got to figure out when to hit all the pause buttons and all that stuff, and I don't want the video to be herky-jerky, but it may end up being that way. Okay. Papers. All right, we got papers. Top 100 examples of arrogance of the Obama presidency in 2013 in the Independent Journal Review. Kyle Becker, yes, Kyle Becker. Merriam-Webster defines arrogance as an attitude of superiority manifested in an overbearing manner or in presumptuous claims or assumptions. Democratic Representative Dennis Cordoza described Obama as arrogant with a demeanor that alienated many potential allies. Rupert Murdoch relates a story where New York's left-leaning Mayor Michael Bloomberg, now we're talking about left-leaning, he fell over a long time ago, Michael Bloomberg called Obama the most arrogant man he'd ever met. This comes from a man who's outlawed large soft drinks, e-cigarettes, and he calls Obama the most arrogant man he'd ever met. Washington Post, another one that's falling over, editorialist Charles Krauthammer, well, he's not falling over, has criticized the president for his incredible arrogance. The Telegraph's Niall Gardner dubbed Obama the most arrogant U.S. president in decades. Although describing President Obama as arrogant is a subjective process, there are more than enough reasons to believe that Barack Obama believes himself to be above the nation's laws and above the people he is bound to serve. How many times has he talked down to us and treated us as though we're worrying about things that are above our pay grade, so to speak. 2013 will become known as in the historical annals as the year that hope and change went to die. Even loyal Democrat spokesperson Barbara Walters was forced to confess 5 years after every American with common sense knew it, that Obama is not the Messiah. Remember we talked about that, was it last week or the week before? The week before. Nonetheless, President Obama carries on like he's God's gift to humanity, displaying an otherworldly arrogance despite his demonstrable incompetence. Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody. All right. So enough about President Barack Hussein Obama. By the way, a little update on Duck Dynasty. Phil Robertson is back on the show, and they're looking for another network. No big surprise. Did I not say that was going to happen? Did we not all figure out that should happen? Because the fact of the matter is, Duck Dynasty is making enough money and has enough viewers that they can go anywhere they want. And A&E can put it where the sun don't shine. Okay, so we move on. Well, running video and audio at the same time is a little rough, but we're working on it. Again, these things will become smoother as time goes on. This is the first shot. I've done a few experiments, and I've had some opportunities to work on that. Well, Hillary Clinton is kind of back in the news in a roundabout way. Steve Doocy from Fox and Friends claimed that it was clear that someone at the New York Times knew who murdered the 4 Americans in Benghazi, based on a tweet Monday by a Times reporter. Now, if you'll recall, Hillary Clinton, who, by the way, will probably be running for president in 2016, so let's not forget this stuff, said that it didn't matter anymore when asked about Benghazi after the fact. She really didn't care. She said it's already done, so why worry about it? The Times discounted the role of Al-Qaeda in the Benghazi attack and said that it was caused by a anti-Muslim video that no one watched. And basically what happened was that the New York Times, at least one reporter for the New York Times, may actually have been talking to the people who were responsible for the attack while it was going on. Now, the interesting thing about all of this is that all these things have been swept under the carpet. Benghazi, Fast and Furious, all kinds of interesting... The IRS, okay, the head of the IRS was given a $50,000 pension as a reward for her actions, despite the fact that they were illegal and unconstitutional, when she okayed the monitoring, let's say, of the tax status of right-wing groups or anyone who managed to oppose Barack Hussein Obama. So we need to be aware, again, of what's going on behind the scenes. We need to keep our memories open come 2014, this year, in November, and especially 2016, when it's presumed that Barack's hand-picked candidate will be running for president for the Democrats. We've got to get them out. That's not to say that the Republicans are going to be that much better, but right now what we need is a group of people in power in Washington who don't believe in running over the Constitution for the sake of maintaining their power base. And I know it's going to be difficult, and we'll stay on top of it. Ruling by edict, Obama issues 2 new anti-gun executive orders. Greg Campbell, January 3rd, in Tea Party News Network. Once again, I have to make it clear, the Tea Party, they're not haters. Okay? They don't hate children. They don't hate women. They don't hate any particular race, color, creed, gender, or sexual preference. They have their beliefs. And when they state their beliefs, if their beliefs happen to be counter to those of the left, they're considered haters because the left loves everybody. The left is always right. The left's intentions are always good. The left always has the best interests of everyone in mind, as long as they get what they want from them. And if that's the case politically and monetarily, then they'll be for anything. But when it comes to morals and interpretation of the Constitution, the Tea Party basically says, let's do things the way they were set up. However, Barack Obama, as usual, has chosen not to do so. 2 new executive orders. One in particular came into focus in this article regarding the psychological state and the mental state of those who may wish to purchase a gun. Two-pronged. Basically what happens here, anyone with mental health issues could conceivably be forbidden from getting a gun. And how does the government find out? Well, they go in and they look at their medical records and their psychological records, which up until recently at least have been considered private. But they're going to waive the privacy requirements for any provider that decides to comply with government regulations. Now, let's go back a step before everybody gets crazy and starts thinking that I'm some sort of nutcase. No, I'm not. I don't have any mental issues that would keep me from owning a gun. Even though I don't own one and don't wish to, that's my choice. As long as I have that choice, then we're doing things the right way. However, what I'm saying is, okay, psychotic people shouldn't have guns. Okay, psychotic people shouldn't have guns. But where we have a problem here is that once again the government is going to make the decision as to who's fit to have a gun and who isn't. And if a person had, let's say, an emotional trauma in their life, where they had to see a counselor, or maybe marriage counseling, or childhood counseling, let's say, things that aren't that serious. Once again, I apologize for the quick break on anyone who's watching the show because I don't have a cough button, and I do have a cold. Getting back to what I was saying, though, there are a lot of people who go see someone, a counselor or a psychologist or whatever, for various reasons that are perfectly harmless. And that, again, could be used as a technical point to keep you from owning a gun. Because the government, after all, is after one thing and one thing only. And that is to try to disarm as many people as possible. And all of you people out there, once again, have to be reminded, people don't kill people. Guns kill people. Guns don't kill people. We'll get it straight. I'm a little off the beat today because of all this new stuff I'm doing, so you'll have to bear with me. But guns don't kill people. People kill people. So the existence of guns is not evil. It's who has them. And whereas I can see a point in allowing psychotic people to be revealed, if they're psychotic and they've been committed to a mental institution for, say, let's say, what's the word I'm looking for here? Personality disorders, not obsessive compulsive, what's the word? Bipolar disorder, yes, bipolar disorder, or something to that effect. Yeah, we might want to be a little bit careful about letting them loose. The loosening of privacy practices and the thickening of scrutiny for those who have been committed to receive help. Some citizens might be hesitant to seek short-term mental health help if there's a danger of having their Second Amendment rights revoked. Well, quite frankly, if I needed to go to see a doctor for something, I don't think I'd worry about whether I can own a gun or not because I went to see the doctor. I think it's more important to mind your health. The White House claims that the proposed rule will not change the fact that seeking help for mental health problems or getting treatment does not make someone legally prohibited from having a firearm. Furthermore, nothing in the proposed rule would require reporting on general mental health visits or other routine mental health care, or would exempt providers solely performing these treatment services from existing privacy rules. Again, where is the line going to be drawn? What they're saying there is, well, we won't look at the minor stuff, But they're going to look at the record, and the record is the record. The record has everything in it. We won't know exactly what they're looking for. And on things that we don't know, we have to talk about the intelligence chief, who's recently declassified FISA court approval for collection of phone data. Now, this is in NBC News, and M. Alex Johnson, a staff writer. In a statement released quietly on Friday, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence said Director James Clapper had decided to declassify and disclose that the government made the request to the hush-hush Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, which approved it earlier in the day. Up until now, I didn't know there was a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. Okay, is that who you go in front of if you're looking at your, if you're a peeping Tom, a voyeur or whatever, you go in front of the Intelligence Surveillance Court? The Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. Excuse me, but I'm a United States citizen. And millions and millions and millions and millions of cell phone owners are United States citizens. We're not foreign. But this court, because if they go in front of if they go in front of the circuit courts or the district courts or whatever the case may be, they are afraid that they'll be considered wrong, that they may not be granted these, I guess you could call them search warrants, to survey and check up on every single phone conversation that's held in the country. Oh, they're only looking at the metadata, not the content of the phone call. I forgot. They know when you called, who you called, and where you called. But don't you think it would be important to them to know what you said? Because, I mean, people call lots of places, and people are called by lots of places. And sometimes the calls are cut off, or they're totally innocuous. And other times they may be talking about something horrible, and the government would want to know. This is so foggy, it's ridiculous. The hush-hush Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. U.S. District Judge William Pauley upheld the constitutionality of the National Security Agency's bulk collection of millions of American telephone records, what's called telephony metadata. Telephony, yes. In a controversial ruling in New York last week, the American Civil Liberties Union, which brought the suit challenging the program, said Thursday that it would appeal Pauley's ruling. This was 11 days after a judge, Richard Leon, said the program appeared to be unconstitutional in a ruling in Washington, D.C. that sided with two Americans who wanted their data removed from the NSA records. It's now up to the appeals court and possibly the Supreme Court. Meanwhile, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court has already given the okay. I don't recall that being in the Constitution anywhere, that they could establish a court for a specific purpose such as that. The FISA court reviews the program every 3 months. Friday's seal of approval is the 36th that it has issued since May of 2006 under George Bush. And notice that Barack Obama, in all of his degrading of George Bush after he took office and during his campaign, and how he wouldn't be like George Bush, has kept George Bush's programs moving right along. In reference to Eric Snowden here, after the Snowden documents emerged, the intelligence community came under vigorous attack from civil liberties advocates, and Clapper issued a public apology in July for having misstated the program's reach in his testimony. Misstated. There's a word that we've heard a lot ever since Richard Nixon. He misspoke himself. Misstated simply means they lied. Okay? While Clapper disclosed that the FISA court had issued the approval, the court's ruling itself wasn't made public. Well, we've had an inordinate pause there because I seem to have screwed something up, and I need to straighten that out. So let's find out what we've done wrong and we'll go back and paste all this stuff together later. All right, let's try this one more time here. We've got this fantastical thing going on where I didn't hit the right button and something didn't come up, so we'll try it again. Here we go. This is what we meant to do, all right?
Get it started. Let's get it started. Yeah. Let's get it started.
Okay, we'll act as though that never happened.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started.
DPR the man, that's who I am. Okay, Al-Qaeda-linked forces captured town of Fallujah in Iraq. Why do I bring that up? Well, because we've basically pulled out of Iraq. We've got trainers in there. It said basically we can't control the border with 150,000 troops during the war. What would a few hundred accomplish? Let's see here. U.S. intelligence officials said Friday the situation in western Iraq was extremely dire after radical Sunni forces linked with Al-Qaeda, could be, raised their flag in the town of Fallujah, the site of two of the bloodiest battles during the Iraq War, and gained control of the city. Islamist insurgents have also battled tribesmen for control of the Iraqi city of Ramadi. The fighters brandished their weapons and set police vehicles ablaze on Wednesday, the Associated Press reported. A provincial spokesman said the militants had taken over police stations and military posts in Fallujah and Ramadi after security forces left. What do they expect? The Sunni and the Shiite factions of the Muslim religion have been at war with each other for a long time. In other words, the Muslims can't even decide who's more Muslim. There's a problem there. We can't be involved in that. And we've pulled out. We have a large diplomatic presence, along with about 100 Marines and 100 high-level institutional trainers, nearly all in Baghdad. But what makes us think, what made us think at any particular point in time, that our leaving Iraq would leave it stable and sane, when you've got two factions of the same religion fighting one another? Just something I thought I'd mention. We move on. NBC News in plain sight. Okay, there's little merry or bright this holiday season for the millions of unemployed Americans who are losing their extended unemployment benefits. Once again, the government has to face the fact that they want to allow people to be out of work for years at a time, to the point where they give up. It hurts, because I've been out of work in my lifetime, and I had to be on unemployment, but I would have taken any job, and I did, in fact, take a job that was pretty bad for a couple of years, because it paid more than unemployment. Now, granted, there aren't a whole lot of jobs out there right now, and that's something that Obama and his administration refused to admit to. But what struck me about the whole article, and I've got 2 full pages here of tiny little print, and out of that whole article, the thing that got me was the families receiving extended unemployment benefits are generally in dire financial straits. Yeah, okay, so helping them helps the economy overall, economists say, whoever they may be. Emergency UI has been one of the largest economic bangs for the buck, Mark Zandi, chief economist of Moody's Analytics, said via email. According to Zandi's calculation, these payments have a multiplier of 1.49 for every dollar extended unemployment benefits. Jobless Americans get $1.49 goes back into the economy. Something wrong with the arithmetic there. Okay? If I recall correctly, every time I receive $1, I have $1 to spend. It would be really nice if every time I got $1, I had $1.49 to spend. That'd be wonderful. That'd be great. Give me a 49% return on my investment. I mean, come on, people. Let's get real here. How in the world could giving unemployment to someone boost the economy when the unemployment comes out of tax dollars taken out of our pockets? We can't spend it. They can spend it. But how can they spend more than they get? Oh, that's right. We all spend more than we get. The government spends more than it gets. Now, this is an amazingly funny subject, and it's one that I'll probably address again in the future. But for now, I have to pause, and you'll see a little jump in the video while I set up the next couple of segments. Okay, we're back. And, as always, we'll go into our weekly foray on the Constitution of the United States of America. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to keep it short because Section 8 here, Article 1, Section 8, is long. And it doesn't have to do with reduced rent. Section 8, the Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts, and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. But all duties, imposts, and excises shall be uniform throughout the United States. To borrow money on the credit of the United States. To regulate commerce with foreign nations and among several states and with the Indian tribes. To establish an uniform rule of naturalization and uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcies throughout the United States. To coin money, regulate the value thereof, and of foreign coin, fix the standard of weights and measures. To provide for the punishment of counterfeiting and securities and current coin of the United States. Okay, we'll stop right there. Basically, that has to do with money. And it outlines very carefully what the government can and cannot do with taxes, and what their specific duties are in terms of governing the republic. Now, it doesn't say that you can have different taxes, different penalties, different whatever in different states, although Obamacare changes the standards for every state based on whether or not they expand their Medicaid or whether or not they subscribe to their own exchange as opposed to having the government set it up. Borrowing money on the credit? Oh yeah, they've done that. Yeah, they borrow money from themselves. Basically, they're borrowing money from the Federal Reserve Bank. Okay, and the Federal Reserve Bank is not the federal government. So they set up a bank for themselves to borrow from. That bank also prints the currency, so the bank can lend as much money as they want. And they have. To regulate commerce with foreign nations and, of course, interstate commerce, and commerce with Indian tribes who have their own sovereign nations. Uniform rule of naturalization. Okay, we've had that. Doesn't look like we're going to have it for very long if Obama and his people have their way. Uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcies throughout the United States. Well, yeah, the federal government not too many years ago did make the bankruptcy law a little bit more uniform because so many states had so many different bankruptcy laws that people could go from state to state and file bankruptcy in different states at different times because of the state laws. Well, the federal government kind of overrode that and made it a little more difficult. So, once again, we look at Section 8, these first few lines here, and we realize that the Constitution is a very simple document, very simply outlining what the government can and can't do. It was meant to limit government, not allow government to constantly become a major part of our lives. Once again, we've reached the near end of this edition of Here's the Thing, and it's time to remind everyone that you can interact with the show by emailing the show at hdt2010@roadrunner.com, going on the Facebook page, heresdathing.com, or searching YouTube or Google Plus using the search term Here's the Thing, Here's the Thing, Here's the Thing, and Here's the Thing, and you'll come up with Here's the Thing's page, and Here's the Thing's channel, and get to watch the whole thing in video, which I am now attempting to produce. So, for those of you who saw herky-jerky things in there, hey, I'm sorry, but we're working on it, and as everything goes, we will improve with time and get smoother and more professional. So, we need to remember to be patient. And so we've reached the end of this edition of Here's the Thing for January 8th, 2014. Estopiki Productions, along with WELBDBJ Radio, has proudly brought you this show. DPR the man, that's who I am, and in my own inimitable way, I will remind everyone to have a good day, have a good week, have a good life. Come back and see me next week for the next edition of Here's the Thing. You may even be a part of it.
You wanna get close to me?
Yes, I'm just sitting here watching my board. Have a good one, folks.
Visions